name is Ben Winofsky, and I'm playing my Sawchyn guitar. I have 2 Sawchyn guitars. Both of them are workhorses. This is my flamenco, and my other one is a steel string fingerstyle acoustic guitar.
You know, I just have, I don't know why, but I've had a natural aptitude towards this kind of work with my hands, and the combination of sound, like sound and touch and sight, all have worked together to make me a guitar maker. So when you get all those things lined up and the customer is really happy and they say that's what I liked or that's what I wanted, that's what it's all about. When you build a custom instrument for someone and you have to, you know, they have all these requests, and not sometimes just for wood, and they have a sound in their head that they're trying to tell you to bring out in a new guitar, right? They want it to sound this way, and you go through a process of trying to figure out exactly what that sound would be, or how it should play and how it should look. And when you put those all together and the person picks up the instrument and says, this is exactly what I wanted. I couldn't have done it explained it any better or had it done any better. That's when it that really does make you happy, because you've hit all the nails, on the head. Well, I'm just finishing this mandolin. It's been polished out, all the hardware's been put on, and now I have to build the bridge. I build all my bridges for my mandolins. I don't purchase them. Some makers will do that, but I custom make every bridge for every mandolin so they fit perfectly. They're intonated the way I like them. And I also have a special stainless steel kind of adjustment post and screws on them, so they're quite durable. So that's what I'm doing right now. I do build a really nice little flat top mandolin, an entry-level mandolin called the beaver tail, but still the arch top is sort of the primo mandolin, either an A model or an F model like this, or scroll model like this. The guitars are split up between my flamencos and classicals and my steel strings, and the other half of my building is mandolins. A lot of beaver tail mandolins and a lot of the custom arch tops. So it's about half and half right now. It's varied back and forth over the years. Sometimes mandolins are really popular. You'll, maybe be building 70–80% mandolins for a few years or a year or two. But right now it's pretty balanced, actually, yeah. Well, my philosophy always has been to have a really good-looking guitar, but in a natural way, that's not all decorated with a lot of artwork on it, really. Some makers do that, and some are really famous for that, but I can do inlay work. I just don't really, I haven't taken to it like other makers do. And I think it's more important in a lot of ways to have a guitar really playable, that sounds great, and that actually looks great. And the way I look at a guitar is really, I don't look at the decoration, I look at the wood and how it's constructed. And so that if those two things are nearly perfect, the guitar sounds really good and plays really well, then that's a good instrument in my mind. It doesn't have to have a whole bunch of pearl on it and bindings and stuff to make it a great instrument. We got some machines here that I don't use a lot of really specialized machines, but the most important machines, again, are my thickness sanders. I have 2 thickness sanders that thickness all the different plates and sides and backs. Just about every piece of the guitar goes through the thickness sander. There's drum sanders, belt sanders, band saws, drill presses. Very simple tools, but all needed to build the guitars properly. I did have a customer years ago, probably nearly 30 years ago, that came to my shop and asked me, did I build flamenco guitars? And at the time, I remember I was just sort of thinking about it. So he took a flyer, and actually I built him about 3 flamenco guitars until he found one that he liked, and that helped me learn to build in a flamenco fashion, that sound you'd want out of a flamenco guitar. He had a Ramirez flamenco at the time, but he wanted something handmade that was more personal to him. And so he kind of coaxed me along that way, and that sort of developed my love for building them. And since then, I've sort of tried to perfect it as far as that really good Spanish flamenco sound that's, very, very, very typical of a flamenco guitar. It's just unlike any other sound in a way, and it plays differently too. But that's a really hard sound to develop, and I've been fortunate. I've gotten pretty close, I think. I've been told that anyway. Into the United States, I've sold them overseas, Ireland, England, so pretty well anywhere. But typically, lately they've been actually around locally. They've been local people that have been buying the guitars, the steel strings. Well, there's been a complete change. I've been building guitars for 40 years, and when I started building guitars, even the first 10 to 15 years, there wasn't the kind of knowledge and people and the amount of people seeking handmade guitars. A lot of people didn't really realize that you could get a handmade guitar that was probably better than something off a rack in a store. So that's changed. As far as models go, you know, it's seasonal. It goes with a fad kind of thing. Some years people want bigger guitars. But if there is a trend in steel string guitars, I've noticed it's to the mid and smaller bodies again. And it seems to be people don't need the big jumbo J200s or dreadnought guitars, although they like them. A lot of people like the smaller guitars or mid-sized guitars. The other thing that's been developed is what you call probably a fingerstyle guitar, which is a new type of music in a way, you know, that the type of Bob Evans plays fingerstyle guitar. So that guitar that he is using is sort of a modern sort of version of a larger guitar or a mid-sized guitar. It's got different shape, it produces a different sound, and it's definitely built for that type of music. So that's a trend that I think that's developed because of need. Yeah, we've had great guitar players come out of Regina, you know, and it's not because of my instruments, but it's fortunate that they play one, you know, now. And like Colin James has had a Sawchyn guitar since he was 14. We made a new model last year for him that we redeveloped. Joel Fafarge probably played a Sawchyn guitar for 25 years. So it's a great thing to be able to build guitars with that quality of a musician, you know, and have them play them all over the world, really. It's kind of nice.
Are you selling your instruments into other countries?
I have, yeah. I used to sell quite a few guitars for a while into Ireland before the Celtic Tiger bit the dust. But I had a friend that ran a store there. I sell some guitars and mandolins into a store in Brighton, England. I've sold custom orders to other countries in Europe. Yeah, in Asia, China, mandolins as well, all over the place.
You know, you run into people who've never heard of a Sawchyn before, and most people who've heard about them, I think they're a respected guitar, and you know, people are maybe a little envious of the other guy who has a Sawchyn guitar, and I think everybody should own one. Why I think I'm drawn to it. Peter's a local guy. He builds beautiful guitars. I don't sing. I've never got into singing, so my guitar is the only voice I'm using to, you know, express my music. And you know, I've played a lot of different guitars, and I've settled on these Sawchyn. So.
You haven't missed a step, and that's what it's all about in a way. You know, there's so much going on with an instrument's construction that you know, again, the visual thing has to be perfect. Sound has to be there and to the customer's request, and then it has to play well. That's a hard question. I don't think there's ever a moment where I said, oh gee, I'm a guitar maker. I just think it happened, right? It just, like anything, it just happens.